This is still the press reaching you live from the Abuja studios of KAFTAN TV, and right about now we've been joined by a guest with whom we are going to be doing the analysis to some of the headlines we have read to you. His name is Azeez Adesokan, and he is a fellow journalist. You're welcome to the program.
Good morning, Francis.
It's good
It's a delight to have you in the studio.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
We are going to be, for the fact that we have a journalist, a fellow journalist, with whom we're going to be analyzing the headlines today. I foresee a very interesting time ahead, and
Absolutely.
yeah, quite a lot has been happening on the Nigerian scene, the political scene, economy, and by extension in Africa, the unfortunate earthquake that happened that has taken a lot of lives. But I want us to get started from the big one on the lips of every Nigerian right now, the outcome of the presidential election petition tribunal. And okay, to set the pace, I want to get to know what you feel, what your general outlook is on the outcome of the petition of the tribunal.
Well, we speak volume of enactment of our democratic culture that we are getting there slowly. And gone are the days that we have the military juntas at the aims of affairs in Nassau Villa. And it is a positive signal that people have actually felt aggrieved with the pronouncement of Mr. President in the last election approached the tribunal. And even though the tribunal is actually so pronounced that their cases are not too genuine to upturn, that they are not Father Christmas, they are not convincing facts enough. But be that as it may, it actually strengthens our democratic life. At least somebody is actually resorting to courts. Just like if I have any disagreement with you, instead of actually having a punch with each other, one another, I can easily make a report at the police station or file a case in courts. And that's a civil way of engagement democratically. But we cannot close up our eyes about the expectation of some of our supporters in Labour Party and PDP. You can't fault them. That is democratic perception of an opponent. That it has to be our own. But the law of the land has spoken. It is only discretion of INEC. It is not a mandatory adventure for INEC to have actually uploaded the results on iRev. And if you are talking about 25% of Abuja, the Abuja does not own a special status when it comes to issue of 2/3 of 24 states of the country according to Constitution. I'm not a lawyer, but with the interpretation given to us by the judges, the 5 judges, in a unanimous decision, and a uniform one indeed, I believe we should be looking forward to Supreme Court. And we just see that this is our country. Election has come and gone. Then how do we forge ahead? Should be paramount in our hearts. Then how far? Because the economy is not smiling yet. And we can't actually throw away the baby with bathwater. Somebody has to be there. Somebody has to be there at a given period until we spend out all our legal opinion, legal options. But as it is, it's a welcome development for our democratic life in Nigeria.
All right. It's really good to know that, we had to, in fact, it was televised and a lot of Nigerians had to,
for 13
watch.
hours.
Yes. I didn't even expect that it was going to take that long.
Yes.
And I could see people saying, in conclusion, never had a conclusion. And, it just kept expanding and people started sleeping. Most journalists slept. And I don't want to start going into those details, but I know that it was draining.
Yes.
Because there was an expectation, and some persons, expectation from every angle. Some people expected to win, some people expected to, everybody expected to win, and eventually it ended in some people's, box and nets. Now, but there are a lot of conversations going on the ground, especially when it comes to not mandating INEC to upload on iRev.
Yes.
So now it now boils down to why the initial expenditure to prepare all of these things for the election, and saying that results to be transmitted on time to the iRev portal and all of that during the preparation for the elections, and eventually it wasn't even there's no legal backing for it. Should we begin to look at some of these things before we start making so much budgets for some of these things?
That will be institutional framework, and that is not legal framework, and that is work of governance, not legal legal framework. That is not for the court to decide. It now depends on INEC as an institution to strengthen themselves. And it's an open window now for some of us now so much interested. See, so for some of us that are applauding INEC, not because we are not seeing those discrepancies or lacuna or what have you, but if we look at INEC of 1998, 1999, that conducted election versus Obasanjo versus Olufalaye, then the one of 2003, under Maurice Uwu, where in Ondo State, Olusegun Mimiko, at the tribunal, proved to before the tribunal that Mike Tyson voted in Ondo State from America. Olosoyinka, who is a voter in Ogun State, voted in Akure. That was Olusegun Agagu versus Mimiko. And they were thrown out. If you look at that trajectory of electoral process in our country, you appreciate INEC at least 50%. There are Nigerians as well. We are doing as if we don't know Nigerian factor. All of us, go to any institution today in our country, you see Nigerian factor there. So it's not something that we can wish away. But institutional framework has to be strengthened. In the next election, I can bet you there will be significant improvements, a clear departure from this one to a promised land. But for now, it is what it is. But INEC must come up and sit up so that we don't have this kind of embarrassment once more. But it's not a legal framework, it's not a legal opinion at all. You can't blame the judges because INEC was actually a co-defendant. So in a suit, INEC is a co-defendant. They will defend what they have actually conducted. So what will happen to the judges? There is nothing they can do. It's just like I'm your guest. You have the recording, and I'm being sued before the courts. KAFTAN TV, you are co-defendant. Your editors, they have to come up with camera, with everything. They recorded this interview. They have to play it in court. So you cannot say INEC or KAFTAN TV should not come and prove evidence. So whoever alleges is a very difficult thing to prove electoral malpractice.
I quite agree. Apologies, Francis. I quite agree. But the point I was trying to make is the fact that there was an fund allocation for the machines, iRev and all of that. So over 300 billion budget. So why would you have or spend so much for what you wouldn't even use?
That is where EFCC should come in. That is where Nigerians should actually channel our energy to. We have Senate Committee on INEC, we have Azobrev's Committee on INEC, we have EFCC, we have ICPC. They should look into the books of INEC. Yeah. So who got what? For what? And how did we get to this place? So those are the things you see, all of us, it is participatory democracy. It's not a democracy that you just see that, oh, they are doing it. Who are those doing it? It's taxpayers' money. So we can write petition to Senate Committee on INEC, House Committee on INEC, EFCC should be petitioned. The INEC staff should be invited. This is outside the purview of Court of Appeal, Tribunal case judgment. This is institutional framework. Who got what? When Yar'Adua was president, and there was this memo that was circulated that unspent budget has to be returned to Treasury. Our Ministry of Health were caught under distinguished minister at that time, Adeniyi, that involved Iyabo Obasanjo, who was a chairman Senate Committee on Health. So people came in and AFC stepped in. The woman was asked to step down as minister. Iyabo Obasanjo went into hiding. It involved Mamora, and the man cleared his name. So the of essence is we've now moved from election to accountability of electoral funds. Who got what? Over 300 billion. From where to where? So INEC should come and answer. So we should know some things up. INEC is away from judiciary. So judiciary will know usurp INEC. And nobody will do opposition job. As Labour Party members, PDP members, or some of APC members that are patriotic enough, they can petition whoever. The INEC should be called to question. How did you arrive this? If the 350 billion naira, Senate committee passed that budget. So check and balance must be there. So we want to know how our money just disappeared. So it is, and we know, we've seen some agencies where somebody off the mic, somebody actually fainted. And we were told that the snakes actually swallow some certain money. I think in JAM.
Yeah, monkey stole money.
Say monkey. So we've had a lot of series from these parastatals, JAM, NECO, or NDDC, and what have you. So INEC will not be an exception. I am sure by the time Total is being light upon on INEC staffs, you will not be saying no. Elephant came to INEC headquarters and took away iRev machines.
Okay, Mr. Fatai, I want to take you back to the iRev issue now, and it's clearly stated that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, they hold in terms of determining the mode of transmission of results, it's at their own discretion. And we saw INEC chairman go on various media platforms in strong terms saying that the only mode of transmission of results is going to be through the iRev. This is to enable Nigerians get real-time updates of how results are coming in from the various states. The man in charge of the voters registration information, Festus Okoye, he was on this very platform on multiple occasions to make that very promise. Now, changing the mode of transmission of results at the when the vote had already been cast, don't you think it's more like changing the rules after the game had already been played? Yes. Secondly, if we go back to the contents of the judgment, in general, before the tribunal started sitting, a lot of Nigerians, both obedient and both members of the both members of the Labour Party, obedient and non-members of the Labour Party, I'm talking about from the PDP now, a lot of Nigerians have expressed concerns over the possibility of the tribunal passing their judgment on the grounds of technicalities. And at the end of the day, when the judgment was passed, we all can tell that bulk of the decision, of the unanimous decision of the tribunal was based on technicalities.
I quite
should we now get to a point whereby we are sacrificing what we can see, what we can feel on the altar of how we saw it and how we perceive it?
I quite disagree with so many opinions in that regard. Without holding brief for INEC chairman Mahmoud Yakub and Festus Okoye, and like the decision of the courts, that if INEC had actually pronounced to so many people that iRev will have uploaded result and people could see, and well, they felt that perhaps and this iRev thing will be could be hijacked and what have you, and it would not serve purpose of the commission very well, and they chose not to do that again, as pronounced by the judges, that it is at discretion of Mahmoud Yakubu and what have you. But opinion cannot be molded for judges. It's not done that way. That no matter how cry in a given community that, oh, this man is a bad man, this man has actually killed, no, opinion will not be molded from the streets. Opinion are molded, judges' judgments are molded based on evidences before them, and that's the fact. We must respect the sanctity of our judiciary. Peter Obi had been beneficiary of the judiciary. In 2005, Chris Igige was sent packing from Anambra government house. Peter Obi never knew anybody in appellate courts in Enugu, and he was actually pronounced as the duly elected governor of Anambra State. Heaven did not fall. The same thing in 2007. Even when an elected governor has been elected, Senator Andy Uba, he was 17 days governor in Anambra State. The court said no, election not ought to have been held in Anambra, that Peter Obi must be allowed to have spent out his tenure of office. And he went back to Anambra. That's why we are off-cycle election in Anambra State today. He spent out his term. The same judiciary, Atiku Abubakar, a great beneficiary of judiciary over the years, when the Niyi Akintolas, Wole Olanipekun, Rotimi Akeredolu were his lawyers, Akeolujimi, they took federal government to court, even against emotional opinion of Gani Fayemi, senior advocate of Nigeria at that time, the Atiku, Ribadu, the EFCC chairman, who went overboard and said Atiku could not contest, was not eligible to have contested.
During the PTDF...
yes, PTDF saga, based on corruption allegation, indictment, that Atiku could not be flag bearer of AC in 2007. Aketi then, the NBA, they went to court on behalf of Atiku. The Supreme Court said Atiku had the right to contest, that EFCC does not have any right to have barred Atiku Abubakar as candidate of APC. As of Thursday, 2 days to general election against Yaradua and the likes, Atiku was still in court. So the same court is the same court that's not telling us that Atiku Abubakar and the Labour Party petition at the tribunal lacks merit. So the same judicial, what has now changed? We shouldn't be too emotional ever. I'm not trying to be. So we've seen how Tinubu lost in so many courts. He lost election in this country and nothing happened. He wanted somebody else in Edo State. He was told point blank, I don't know, be Lagos. Obaseki won the election. Everyone did not fall. We shouldn't be bad players. When something does not favor us, what will you do? I personally had interest in a particular candidate and didn't win. What will I do? We have to move on. We have to move on. And the fact remains that you cannot blackmail the judiciary. You can't just sit down from comfort of your room and because you are a social media warrior, you have 2,000 followers, 10,000 followers, then your opinion counts. An individual or group of people opinion cannot be law of our country. If you want to strengthen our democracy, form your opinion. A memorandum, go to National Assembly. You have House of Representatives there. You can't just sit down from social media platform and mold opinion for judges. You are now abusing judges. They did that. Look at the faces of these. It is highly unpatriotic and criminal. And such characters should be picked up and charged to court. You can't turn the country upside down because the law did not go your way. That's not how to run the country. We are not a banana republic. So Atiku Abubakar should call their supporters. And they've been very responsible in their statements after the judgment. I listen, I watch Atiku Abubakar, the same thing Peter Obi. But that should not be enough. They should talk to their supporters at their base. You see, without Nigeria, there is this election that will come up again in another 4 years. So there will always be room for that.
All right, but thankfully you mentioned that. But the funniest part is that the two of them have not closed the case yet because they are going to the Supreme Court.
It's a very good development for our democracy. In fact, see, some of us, by God's grace, I will be a law student by December in law school. And I know this thing will come up in our exams. It's going to be archived. And on TV yesterday, on one of the TV stations yesterday evening, I watched Robert Clark, SAN. The man is 85 years. He told us point blank that he is a lawyer, that Adeniyi was briefed by Peter Obi. He will tell him that this case lacks merit. Because he now told us yesterday that Robert Clark, SAN, I'm quoting him, that the Supreme Court they are heading to, that Supreme Court has so decided such a matter before them. It's not like in the case of Olaoye versus Olubadan in 1947 Waka, that Olatimi at that time wanted to be a Mogaji in Ibadan. Then Ibadan used to control Ikirun in 1940s. The Supreme Court in Ghana at that time, Western Region Court was in Ghana in Accra, decided in the Timie Olaoye versus Olubadan in 1947, where Agbaje Salami was involved. So the same case cannot be taken to court again. So there are precedents already at the court of Supreme Court. So I'm not saying they should not go to court. It's a good development. Instead of rioting, macheting people on the street, you have to resort to court. Kayode Fayemi was in court for more than 3 years. iRev was in court for more than 3 years. Before the appellate courts in Benin and in Ibadan pronounced them as governor of Osun State and Ekiti State. The same thing Mimiko was in court. Oshomole was in court against Osumbo in Edo State before Osumbo was sent packing.
Sorry, let's quickly take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Alhassan and Francis.
Good morning to you.
You're welcome to the press.
Good morning. And hello to our analyst.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Kim.
All right. Let me go to my point.
Okay.
You see, on Friday, I called into this channel. So at the end, I made a statement. I said the article and Peter Obi party should not stop at this stage. They should move to Supreme Court. And at the end, I said After all, the lawyers need money. Though the analyst then was trying to interpret me wrongly, but every one of us know the fact that lawyers will not just go there for free. That's the fact. Because they are going there for money. So that being said, that just to clear that aspect. Then, so over the issue of the judgment delivered, except if we want to follow emotion, based on what the lawyers of both MP and PDP presented, that is exactly what the judges there made use of. And thank God, it was over 12 hours. It took them time to explain vividly for everybody to know everything that happened. So, and now after this judgment, now going after the judgment, complaining, it is of no use. I'm not saying that maybe probably they should blame their lawyers, but the truth of the matter is that their lawyers have not really done the assignment they are supposed to do. Number one, if you think your own candidate has more votes over the other candidate, it is your own responsibility, which is that, to look for that evidence, tangible evidence, not by mouth. We know that, like issue of transmission or not transmission, if INEC chairman says he's going to do that, but if it is not in the book of law that it must be done, so INEC chairman's statement is just mere statement. Okay? So if the parties knew this kind of thing, if they were wise, I'm sorry, I'm not insulting them, what they should have done initially is that every polling unit, the result that they have, they should have gathered all these things. So this is what will now prove to the fact that either of them is the winner of the election. But their failure to do this, it gives two reasons. Either they don't have the facts, or they were lazy to look for the facts. And then the issue of the SPP. On head, imagine 36 states and federal capital territory. Imagine Atiku Abubakar, for instance.
All right, Mr. Akin, I'd like you to round up your thoughts.
I'll round up. When 36 states of the federation and lost Abuja, are we going to say he lost the election? See, all these things being said by the judges, they base it on what the lawyers presented. And there's not going to be any changes at the Supreme Court. I wish everyone good luck. Best wishes for Nigeria. Thank you. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Akin feels like there will be no difference in the Supreme Court. But at the same time, sometimes when you must have taken a step and somebody makes you see the part where you're lacking, don't you think that you would want to, retrace your step and do better when you're
even at that, we cannot blame the Supreme Court.
My thoughts too.
For since we have law of precedence, that is what many people are actually banking upon. Like the man I'm quoting the other time, Robert Clark, SAN, who was on the national TV yesterday evening, telling us that if he was to be one of the council briefed by Labour Party or PDP, he would have actually advised, even on the tribunal should not be approached. But for the sake of democratic culture, you need to approach the tribunal when you have election that was held, national election that was held, and you had reservations. You have supporters. You have to keep your base.
Also, of course.
And you can't just throw your emotions of your supporters across the country just like that. I understand that, and but I believe, like I painted earlier on, I must give kudos to Peter Obi in his speech, and Atiku Abubakar. He demonstrated that they are patriots, but I want to see more of that in their supporters' characteristics, and that will do a lot for our country.
But do people really have control over their supporters? Let me quickly take this call. Hello, good morning.
This is Mr. Joel from Abuja.
Good morning, Mr. Joel. You're welcome to the press. Please join the conversation. We need you to turn down the volume of your TV set or step away from it.
Okay, I've done that. I've toned down the...
We can still hear it. We're still getting feedback from you. Can you just step away from it?
Okay. Yes, I've done that. Can you hear me now?
Very well.
Okay. So, we play a lot in this country, and it pains me a lot that we play a lot. The law says that INEC shall prescribe the manner of transfer. of results. INEC, in obedience to the law, prescribed in its guidelines the constitutional process by which INEC is allowed to implement its rule, that it will do so electronically. So what are we talking about? We are talking of Labour Party or PDP not presenting an eligible proof or whatever. We are just deceiving ourselves. We are deceiving ourselves. How much was budgeted for this electronic transmission? That's what we'll be talking about. Who are those involved? Who made use of those money? And what was the purpose of that money? Why is it not effective? Why didn't it work? Okay, now we are talking of evidence. The lawyer that is talking of the judges that is talking of evidence. Evidence. The PDP and the Labour Party, they did a lot. They provided a lot of evidence. But those lawyers, they just, played on our integrity, deceiving themselves and deceiving the Nigerians and everybody. In the sense that, okay, look at, somebody is talking about 25% of FCT. The law says, even if you have 25% of other states, up to 19 states, you must have up to 25% and FCT. He made it clear. So, and again, the forfeiture of the 460,000 million US narcotic drug money by Tinubu, they just said it was, I think I've forgotten what they said about that, but, all these are the judgments that, need to be looked into. At least Nigeria needs to ask questions. What are we into in this country?
All right.
What is happening?
All right.
Okay, if you commit a crime, it will no longer count against you after 10 years. That is what Justice Haruna said. And the BVAS was only meant for a verification and accreditation of voters, and not meant to be used to transmit the results to the INEC iRev. Justice Haruna said. Is it not an insult to the Nigerian public? Please, let's be sincere. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Hello,
good morning. Let's take this final call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello. Yeah, good morning.
Good
You're
morning to
welcome
you.
to the press. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Olamide and Francis, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes, I'm fortunate today. I'm calling you from Lagos right now.
All right, you're welcome to the show.
The little contribution I have to make about the tribunal is that honestly the judges were not fair in their ruling, because even if they said that he who accused must bring evidence, at least since they understand that, since they agree that INEC did make a promise to transmit results, at least that part they should have rebuked INEC for not doing their own responsibility, because what INEC committed is fraud. You made a promise of something, and over how many people have their their voters card at that time, and they have their hope, and that is what motivates a lot of people to go out and vote, and then later you choose to follow another route. So it's very, very unfair what the tribunal did. At least if they had chided INEC and told them the penalty and the consequences of what they did, it would have been fair for the both parties, because now it looks like, the popular opinion now looks like it is more easier to rig election than to go in a legal, free and fair contest and try to retrieve your mandate through court. That is what the judges, that is what the judge portray, in the minds of many Nigeria at the moment. And I'm beginning to wonder, to take a kind of scenario in my mind now. What of, and we should, Peter Obi of Labour Party, I think we must commend him for being, for guiding his followers are right since the declaration of that result. Because all he needed to do, to throw the nation in Shuma is to say, so tell Nigeria if he had been radical like his vice, I think there would have been anarchy all this while. But thank God that he was able to, to put himself together, and he has been following due processes. So what I'm thinking in my mind is, if we had a person, a controversial figure like Wiki, in the place of Peter Obi, and a person like Nasir El-Rufai in the place of Atiku, and then all these three rugged politicians going into contest, I think there would have been a bloodbath in this country. So when the law is set, please, people should learn to follow the law, because if law is being broken without punishment being meted to it, I think it's it's not a good reputation.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Fortune.
Thank you very much.
I'd like you to comment on what Mr. Joel said earlier and what Mr. Fortune said now, because they are tilting towards the same direction, and Nigerians are really asking questions.
Not Nigerians as Obi supporters. You cannot generalize things that Nigerians. APC has their supporters, PDP has their followers, Labour Party has their followers. And he was making mention of El-Rufai and Wiki is a kind of defamation. You can't be defaming characters. That they been somebody, Obi has no choice. He cannot give us law of our country. He contested, and it has been pronounced by INEC, the duly certified umpire, that he didn't win, that somebody won. So he doesn't have any choice. Any attempt to do otherwise, it will be charged for treason felony, and he will find himself in jail. Whoever, even if they are 1 million, the law of the land will catch up with them. So nobody, you can't play God. Buhari actually spent out his term and left. Obasanjo spent out his term and left. Even though when it was alleged Obasanjo was looking for third term. No, people resisted. The law of the land resisted. So, emotional, we are still going back to this. Supporters of these people are too emotional. INEC, judgment of the court has been pronounced. And I don't see Michael Zekume, the Kenneth and all of this world, they are not saying what these people are saying. They understand the law. These are senior advocates. And as pressmen, we've been following trend of events over the years. Even though the worst one that we saw under Atiku Abubakar versus Yaradua, what happened? Because the evidence were not there. So you cannot expect the judge going looking for the evidence because you have modern opinion on social media. The popular opinion. It occurred in 2011 when Buhari believed the same thing. Emotional supporters. They thought Buhari had won because he won in most part of the northern states. But Jonathan defeated him. And there was riots in some part of the north. But what did the law say? That Jonathan was the elected president of our country. Heaven would not fall, and did not fall. So all these things are emotional. Some of us are not sway to this emotional charge. So that people will be discouraged that before you are rigged, before you go to... No, who is now being discouraged? Under PDP regime, the opposition party reclaimed their mandates. And under APC regime, PDP had won elections. And heaven did not fall. You saw what happened across the country. So, you see, Nigerians are no longer fools. You can't be a supporter of APC or PDP or Labour Party, and you now equate your opinion to represent that of all Nigerians. It's not tenable anywhere. You have fundamental human right to be a supporter of APC, PDP, Labour Party, but that should be your opinion or that of your family members. But it can't be for the country. I have my choice. I can go for Francis. I can go for KAFTAN TV. So nobody is holding anybody. But you cannot situate your own opinion to be that of the law of the land. That is where problem will comes in. It's not possible. We can't continue to blackmail our judiciary. Yes, there is no perfect system everywhere. But for what we've seen so far, it was so convincing enough, except otherwise.
All right. I already said it before we started this conversation that this case probably would never end. Let's begin to analyze the first 100 days of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the deals he actually signed in India. You know, some persons are already saying it's not just about signing audio deals, it's about people truly coming in to bring the funds in. How would you assess this 100 days and the deals he's had to sign? And don't forget that he's currently in UAE to discuss the bilateral issues that we're currently having.
And so, the visa and the what have you.
Yeah, so
what do you make of this? The president of the country had actually came up on a promissory note not yielding yet, but is open. We are hoping that is open the land that, oh, with these key policies of his administration, we've seen the cabinet members inaugurated, we've seen him in India. The $14 billion investment will not come overnight, will not come on Monday today. It will come some other time, and it involves lots of issues. And that is what a president could do for his country, assuring the investors that come. Because UAE, they're having issues in repatriating some of their funds, over $300 million. And MTN had issues at a given period or so. So for Mr. President, that under my own regime, as Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if you are bringing in your investment, there will be tax relief, you don't have any problem, and these are the kind of assurances you can get. You assured me to come in here today that Mr. Adesokan, if you are coming in, there is a seat for you to sit in the studio. There is a microphone for you. You've assured me. So I'm not the cameraman, I'm not the editor. I'm just sitting down here and doing my bit. And that is what Mr. Tinubu was in India. He even traveled there with business community. Dangote, Kola Karim, Bua, Rabiu Samad, Tolu Numelu, and the likes. And those are key critical stakeholders of the Nigerian economy that let's go together. Okay, let's go and exchange economic policies.
Mr. Fatai, just for the fact that we are running out of time, I just want to, you talked about the fact that he came in on a promissory note, yes. Even if the promises are yet to yield results. Talking about the promises, under the in 100 days, in his 100 days in office, we all can tell the impact on Nigerians. Cost of transportation has almost tripled, yes. And the general cost of living right now is not something Nigerians are talking about on a very positive note. Would you to say the land that you will you to say there's still light at the end of the tunnel, even if Nigerians are now saying that who even put the light at the end of the tunnel? Why can't you
not even at the end of the tunnel? I'm being optimistic. There is light at the middle of the tunnel because we had issues economically. The economy is in comatose. That's the truth. Not thanks to Buhari administration. The 8 years economically was so in shambles. Nothing significant occurred economically under Buhari regime. And the man came in. No single country does that. How can we be consuming over 75 trillion naira debts? Want nothing to show for it. Nothing significant. Because it was consumption. We are borrowing about 6 trillion per annum to fund our budget deficit. No serious country does that. You can't continue to borrow to consume. And this man has told us that he's not going to borrow to fund the budget next year. That the money for Nigerians is going to be used for Nigerians. And he took the pain of a visionary leader, just like we had Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore. When he came on board, it was pain all through in Singapore. Go to Singapore today. People want to be like Lee Kuan Yew. Go to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. Malaysia capital. It wasn't like that before.
Thank you so much.
But Tinubu took the pain and decided that we have to be holistic economically in our approach. We have to be holistic. Before this building was actually erected, it was holistic. The foundation was solid.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fatai. Quite a lot that still needed to be talked about.
Thanks
but our time played a really fast one.
Like you will say, Nigeria Konibaje.
Definitely. Our time played a fast one on us, and thank you so much for your insightful analysis. And this is where we draw the curtain on today's edition of your favorite program, The Press, reaching you live from the Abuja studios of KAFTAN TV. My name is Francis Adeniyi.
And I am Olamide Alhassan. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.